So I definitely feel like it is a larger issue than people are talking about. It's definitely something that a lot of people experience, no matter how small of a scale it might seem, because sexual misconduct and assault is defined across a broad spectrum of categories. And so there's a lot happening that people aren't recognizing. And just because you're not hearing about it doesn't mean it's not happening. And it's more than likely that that's all of us know somebody in our lives who has been sexually assaulted, whether they be male or female, because this is an issue that affects everybody. And I definitely think that it's something that I'm not hearing about as often as I should have, but something that I know people have experienced, not only in my life, but also in people's lives that I've never even met on this campus, because we are 30,000 undergraduates and it's impossible to know everybody.
I think that sexual assault is an issue on campus. I feel like on all college campuses there is the potential for there to be a sexual assault. Now granted, I haven't heard about many cases since my time here, but there have been some instances, so it is an issue.
I think it happens a lot more, and it takes a lot of courage for someone to come up and say that they have been affected by sexual assault, and I don't think that a lot of people come forward, especially to the school, about it, and I feel like it's something that we don't talk about nearly enough.
Not really. I feel like if we were aware, we would know definitively if it was really happening or it wasn't. And I feel like if it was to happen to anybody, it'd be a little bit hard for them to talk about. And I think what like maybe the school expects is happening might not be the exact representation of what is going on.
I think that it's difficult to know, because a lot of the situations when sexual assault happens, people are way too embarrassed or just uncomfortable to go forward and talk about it. So it may seem like UMass isn't really doing anything about sexual assaults that's happened, but really they don't really have, they can't really do anything about it unless it's reported.
Right, well, I feel that since I personally don't feel like I am very knowledgeable on the fact that it could be an issue on campus, I don't think UMass is doing all that it could to help prevent it, or at least acknowledge it. I feel like they could be more, just as they're trying to send out with all these diversity emails. If there are instances like this happening, I feel like those also need to be shared with the community.
I definitely think there are a lot of resources to report assault. You can tell your RA, you can tell your PM, you can call directly to UMPD, Title IX, UMass supports Title IX. So those are all ways that you can report. But I think it's less of a problem of whether you can report the issue and more of a problem of whether or not people are listening to your report. So you can do as much as you want, and you can go to your RA, you can go to your PM, you can directly call UMPD, and you can report that you've been assaulted, but is anybody doing anything about it?
I think it's kind of hard to report sexual assault on campus just because of the amount of people they make you talk to. I know as an RA, when we did Title IX training and what to do if somebody comes and talks to you, there's a lot of people they have to go and retell that story to, and it just feels like, I feel like that process is going to be hard, because it's how many times you have to relive it and talk about it even more. I get that it's for trying to understand what happened, but I also feel like it's not helping the victim in any way, and it's just making the process harder.
I would definitely think that Greek life itself, when people hear the words Greek life, they don't think brotherhood, they don't think sisterhood first, they kind of think parties and drinking first. I think that image has been propagated, and therefore it has been associated with sexual misconduct because of the decisions that people are making under the influence. So I definitely think that is definitely part of their image, but not something that should be taken into account as their entire image.
Prior to being at school, I did kind of associate Greek life with like sexual assault, kind of like people being taken advantage of and stuff like that. But from experiencing it me personally, and I feel like stereotypically sexual assault is mostly a male to a female. And I do have a lot of female friends, and none of them have ever felt like they've been unsafe, even if they were left alone at a party. Like, if anything, like their brother will help them.
This has more to do with the situation that people are in at those parties, rather than other places on campus, just due to the fact that a lot of people are under the influence, whether that be through alcohol or other recreational drugs or non-recreational drugs. So that definitely has an influence on how people act in those situations, and therefore I think that a lot of people at those parties tend to do things and make decisions that they would not have otherwise. But sexual assault is something that can be defined many different ways, and I don't think that is localized just to Greek life. I think that we hear about it a lot more just because of the fact that Greek life is constantly kind of has that image of being known for that, and because of that we hear about frats coming under fire because of sexual assault allegations, and even people who have been alumni of Greek organizations flaunting that kind of behavior, and that's why I think we hear about it a lot more, and that therefore I think a lot of people think it happens a lot more in those situations. And I also, as educated as I am on the topic, for myself, I think that happens a lot more in those places, but it definitely also happens across various locations on campus as well.
Personally, I think that they do, just because of what I've heard for stories and also like the stereotypes, and I feel like stereotypes stem from somewhere.
I think that in a lot of cases you see on the news and in college, like when you hear about friends in college that have had sexual assault happen to them, it often has something to do with alcohol being involved. So since frats are such a place where like sometimes they even supply you with alcohol, and people are often under the influence when they're there, that it's very likely that these incidents could be happening more likely. Part of the reason I think that too is because you always hear from older friends or like parents or siblings, make sure you never leave your drink unattended at a frat party, which just makes you think that it's probably pretty likely that somebody could put something in your drink or etc.
So I would say yes, because I think the frat culture is very masculine. So I think men are trying to compete between each other, trying to see like who could get with more girls, or who could perhaps like, I don't know, it's like who can take home the most people. So I think it's very trying to like one up each other, and based off of like stereotypes and trying to be more masculine.